Good evening from Washington, D.C. I'm Mehdi Hassan, sitting in for my good friend Chris Hayes. For years, terrorism was seen as a problem within Islam, a threat from Muslims, an issue that people who look like me, with names like mine, had to explain, condemn, and apologize for. We had a war on terror. Yeah, Muslim terror. 9/11, obviously, and Al-Qaeda, and then ISIS. And yet the truth is that between 1994 and 2020, there were nearly 900 terrorist attacks and plots here in the United States, and the majority of them were perpetrated not by Muslims, but by right-wing terrorists and white supremacists. And that brings me to tonight's news of a new alleged far-right terror plot to, quote, completely destroy the city of Baltimore. It is a terrifying story that involves a neo-Nazi. Yes, a neo-Nazi accused of planning a terror attack in America in the year 2023. His name is Brandon Russell. He is a 27-year-old Florida resident who was released from federal prison in August of 2021. In 2017, Russell was charged with and pleaded guilty to multiple counts of bomb-making. That came after police discovered neo-Nazi paraphernalia, a framed photo of Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber, and explosive material in his home. At that time, Russell admitted to subscribing to National Socialist or Nazi beliefs and told officials that he had started his own local National Socialist group called the Atomwaffen. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, the Atomwaffen is a terroristic neo-Nazi organization with the main aim of ushering in the collapse of civilization, so a white ethno-state or whites-only utopia can be constructed in its wake. Back in 2017, Russell and the Atomwaffen were planning an attack on Florida infrastructure, including power lines, as well as a nuclear power plant. That is, according to a fellow member of the group. And last year, less than a year after his release from prison, the FBI says that Russell started up similar plans again. Using an alias on an encrypted messaging app, Russell encouraged an FBI source to carry out attacks against critical infrastructure. He specifically encouraged the source to attack electrical substations and provided guidance on how to cause maximum damage, as well as telling him to read a white supremacist publication that provided instructions on how to attack critical infrastructure. In January, Russell asked the FBI source to collaborate with a Maryland-based woman to carry out the attacks. That woman then made contact with the source, telling him that she's a felon and asking him to purchase a rifle for her. Near the end of January, in a phone call, she listed the 5 substations she planned to target and described how there was a ring around Baltimore, and if they hit a number of them all in the same day, they would completely destroy this whole city. FBI officials identified this Maryland woman as 34-year-old Sarah Clendaniel and provided this photo of her clad in tactical gear with a swastika on her chest, armed with multiple weapons, too. They also obtained a document they believe to be written by her referencing the Unabomber and Hitler. Today, federal officials announced that they had arrested both Clendaniel and Russell, who they called racially or ethnically motivated extremists.
As alleged in the complaint, Sarah Beth Clendaniel and Brandon Russell conspired to inflict maximum harm on the power grid, a key component of our critical infrastructure. The accused were not just talking, but taking steps to fulfill their threats and further their extremist goals. Russell provided instructions and location information. He described attacking the power transformers as the greatest thing somebody can do. In her own words, Clendaniel said she was determined to do this. She added, it would lay this city to waste.
Shocking stuff. Russell and Clendaniel were both charged with conspiracy to damage an energy facility and could face 20 years in prison if they are convicted. The FBI says that the pair acted alone, but this is part of a worrying trend as physical threats to the U.S. power grid jumped 77% last year to an all-time high. Now, I think it is important to note that the right has been demonizing the majority black city of Baltimore for a long time. We've heard it from the leader of the Republican Party and from the most popular host on their propaganda TV channel.
You look at our inner cities are a horrible mess. I mean, I watched Baltimore. I have many, many friends in Baltimore. We're just talking about Baltimore. Look at what a disaster Baltimore is.
Whatever you do, don't go to Baltimore. It's one of the worst places in the Western Hemisphere. It's a little bit of Haiti in the mid-Atlantic.
And that brings me to the more important point. The modern Republican Party is in denial about the threat from right-wing and white supremacist terrorism. Tucker Carlson has called white supremacy, quote, a hoax. After a white nationalist killed 51 people at 2 mosques in New Zealand in 2019, Donald Trump downplayed the problem, claiming it was just a small group of people. And, of course, we cannot forget Charlottesville in 2017, when neo-Nazis chanted, "Jews will not replace us," and other Nazi slogans. And this was the then-president's reaction.
You had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. You also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
In some cases, Republicans have gone even further, playing footsie with far-right figures. We saw this on January the 6th with the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and the pro-Trump crowd. And when Donald Trump hosted a Holocaust denier for dinner last fall, around the same time that neo-Nazis were allegedly plotting a terrorist attack on Baltimore. How do we fight the threat of far-right, of neo-Nazi extremism and terrorism in America when one of our 2 major political parties doesn't seem to care? You may have seen Republican politicians falling over themselves in recent days to condemn one of the first 2 Muslim women elected to Congress, Ilhan Omar, and to scream about a Chinese balloon. But what's sad is that I expect very, very few of them will be talking about this alleged neo-Nazi plot in Baltimore. And that is America in 2023.